Hello everyone. Sorry here. Thank you so much for joining me for another Pajama Crafter Stamps 30-day challenge. It says 5 minutes per day, but I think I'm going to try and do just the whole image today. I've been really enjoying coloring and just learning and sharing at the same time. I love creating videos and I need a reason to do it. So if you like watching me color and chat, you're more than welcome to join. Also, I am going to be trying to create a couple lives, so just kind of gives me practice. And the reason I'm doing lives is for just some skill and see where that takes me. I don't think I'll be doing lives very often, but it would be kind of neat if I did one a year, even if it was on my birthday. That'd be kind of fun just to get just something different to change up the channel. But this is a 5 minute a day challenge that's been happening every day of June. And there is a free resource book, and all that information is in the description box below. You can get a free 30-day coloring book, essentially. And the one I'm going to be coloring today is this happy camper. Now, before I start, I did make a card from the Little Mermaid. If you recall what the mermaid looked, you can check on I've made 4 videos trying to color this thing in 5 minutes. So I made this little card today, or finished it today, and I think it turned out pretty nice. So I just added a little circle there with some ink to spread it out. And this bubble is actually from one of the new stamp sets from Pajama Crafter Studios, and I believe it's the whale one. Whale tail or something along those lines. Check out her website, pajamacrafterstamps.com, and you will see under the new section. So there's more than just bubbles. There's whales and sharks and flappy stingrays and a bunch of other things. But I think the card turned out quite nice. Definitely had a lot of trouble with the coloring. So hopefully with this one, I do not, and I'm not going to rush it. So we'll see how far I get along. I don't want an hour-long video, but I can always break it up. So I am going to make this very simple. I don't want it to be full of tons of shading. Just grabbing my green markers. I'm just going to try a different style. One of my favorite styles is, you see a lot of cartoons are like this, and it's just almost like one color and a shading color. And it's just a very simple line. There's no blending or anything. And I really like that style. But I have yet to master that style. So let's do it today. So I'm thinking this is a nighttime, so we're going to be working with maybe darker greens. And so what do we got? We have I need a better way of putting these markers. Here's a G18, and I think a G87 will be my next darkest color, which is right here. And okay, let's do G17. Let's try that. We'll start with G17, and we'll just make some nice green, dark green trees. We'll start with this one here. And because we're going to be doing a very simple coloring, I don't need to worry too much about blending and stuff. I just can put a full color in there. Just like that. I'm only doing a couple of trees because just in case I decide to change colors, I don't want them all to be this, or then I can have a chance of doing that. If I color them all now and then change my mind, it's too late. And normally I start on the second image. I wasn't thinking. I like to start on the second image just so that I have that as a reference, because I'm always looking on the left-hand side there. Okay, so that is G17. And I have a G14 here. You know what? No, let's do G06. Is that a new color? I don't think so. Oh, it is too. G06. So this is a new color. I just got these. And maybe we'll do one here. So it's still dark green, but it's a different kind of dark green. So I'm just going to, once again, just coat this whole thing. I'm not worried about light tones, mid-tones, dark tones. It's all going to be just one color. Now you can do this with any marker essentially because we're not doing much blending on this. So you could say, why waste good markers on this? But why not? If you don't use them for just anything and everything, then potentially they go to waste. I don't think these would dry up, he said personally, but I'm relatively new to Olo, and who knows? But yeah, I just want to just play. It's the point of this. Now I have two trees here. I don't know what color I want to do them. If I'm going to do this more yellowish green or just the green. So before I do that, maybe I'll just switch to my darker colors. Now, what I plan on doing is maybe the G18. That's a very dark color. And so I'll probably, how do I want to do this? Maybe I'll just like that. And up through the tree. Something simple, right? Just adding simple colors here, all on the same side essentially, because it's going to be very basic. I'm not worrying about where the light source actually is. And then for G06, maybe I'll try something interesting. I'm going to try a BG0 or BG27. I'm going to see what happens here. And I'm just going to color this because it's all underneath. And up we go. And on that side. And then this is overlapping, so I'll do that. And up on this side. Overlapping here. And up on that side. And then I have this whole tree here. There we go. Now I do have these two trees. Do I have another color that is... I do have an 8-7. That's an 8-5. I could do... Okay, let's just see. This may wreck it, because I might be introducing too many greens, but I'll never know until I try. And let's hope I remember. So I'm looking for a YG16, which is also a new color. So YG16. And I'm just going to color this one in here. Now this should have been probably more in the front because it's a much lighter color. So it's not very ideal for being a background tree, in my opinion. But it's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's still pretty dark. And then what I'll do is I'll bring in my 8-7, YG87, and I'll do the same thing is I'll just kind of darken that just along the edge there. Once again. Like that. There we go. That's not looking too bad. I think that's kind of fun, nice and simple. I mean, if you really wanted to, if it was bothering you that the lines were so stark and so strong, if you wanted to, you can come back with your, what's this, G17? You can just go over this again. Kind of soften that out. Is that G17? I don't know, I've lost track. I think I just made it even darker. Or was that G15 I was working with? Let's find out. So like that, like that. So this is just adding a little bit, like it's not adding more, well, it's kind of adding more depth. What can I say? It's blending that line a little bit. So you can see it's a little bit softer there. The same thing if I were to take my YG16 again, which is the later shade that I did, and I just followed along these lines, then you can start softening it. So it's not such a stark line. I was trying to do a stark line, but it was kind of bothering me. So I don't know. I want to do simple, and yet I still, it's a talent. I really think it is a talent, and you just need to know exactly where to put it. Okay, so I still have a bush here, and I'm thinking I don't want to introduce, so maybe I'll do that YG16 again, which is this one, YG16, and I'll just do the bushes because I don't want to introduce a fourth green. And I think this will be fine. And once again, I'm not going to do anything fancy. I'm going to grab my YG87 and I'm just going to follow along the edge here and up. And there's a lap here and up like that. Now, like I said, you can totally make this more realistic if you wanted to. I don't want to. I just want to do it nice and simple. I think this image just looks very simple and I want to keep it that way. Now for the ground, I'm thinking a nice brown. So what we'll do is we'll start with a very light brown first. And then we can always darken that up when we get there. Okay, so if I want to go with a nice brown, what could work with a green? And it's nighttime, so I don't want it to be too light, even though I'm going to darken it. So maybe an 046. So what we have here is a 46, and what's a 043? What's that look like? 043. You know what? Let's start with 043. It is lighter, but it still has that nighttime darkness to it. And so I'm just going to cover this whole ground with this one color. I think this is a pretty good evening because the moon is out. It's not a full moon, so technically it's going to be a little bit darker than if it was a full moon. But yeah, I think that's a good starting coat. 043. Then we have an 046. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do an overlap here. I'm just going to coat the ground here and then maybe follow this. And I'm just going to cover this whole thing here on the bottom here. There we go. And then I'll just go back to my 043 and just blend that out. Which you don't need to. This is kind of defeating the whole thing I wanted to do at the beginning, but since I started, I'm going to do that. There we go. I'm just going to kind of round that right here. It was kind of sharp. It feels a little non-organic if I do that. Okay. Now I could bring this 046 back again just to go at the very tip again, just to emphasize that darkness. You see when you do that, it really brings it back out again. If you're just following just the tips, just around the edge, sorry. Now, if that bothers you, because it kind of bothers me, see how it's such a triangle? What I'm going to try to do is bring another color in, and this is going to be trial. I'm going to try to bring in another color that kind of just mash that together, but I don't want to really bring in a new color. And I don't want to go over this whole thing again. Otherwise it's going to become this color, this darker color. Because this is the first layer, and right here is the second layer of the same color. So I'm going to try something. I'm going to try a very, very light orange. And this one's called Almond. And I'm just going to kind of blend that in. Just kind of get rid of that line there. And see if that works. Now this one has more alcohol in it with less pigment, so it's really going to act very similar to the Zero blender, because of that property. So as you can see, it's kind of separating, it's kind of pushing the ink around. I'm going to wait until that dries and see what it looks like before I continue touching more brown, because I feel like that might dry and turn a certain way. So while that is drying, and we'll see what that looks like, because in the end, if I really don't like it, I'll go back with my 4-3 and just make it all dark, and that will work. Okay, tint. I'm thinking orange. I'm thinking an orange tint would look good with this. Actually, if I bring out the Olomar, I've been using this for a while to help me. This is the new one. So I've been working with the greens here. So I think an orange, like in this area, would be fine. So I don't really want red. So I'm thinking maybe these two, the OR26 and OR25, those might work quite nicely with these greens, because it kind of goes in that direction. I know that's not exactly correct, but the complementary colors are relatively close. And so that was OR25 and 26, and I think those are new colors as well. OR25 or not. OR25. There's OR26. That's not a new color. And OR25. Perfect. So once again, I'm just going to color this. This is the OR25. I'm just going to give it all a base coat. I want this to be nice and simple. When you're working with synthetic products, products that are not organic, sharp lines actually don't look bad. So if I have a shadow that is a sharp shadow on a tent, that's going to look okay in comparison to a sharp line in dirt. It just looks a lot more natural, even though a tent is not natural. I do have an OR23 attached to this. I'm just looking. No, I don't think I'm going to use that, because I have these little flaps here and I want them to be a little different than that. But before I start, I have OR26, and I'm going to just follow the line like that and up like that. And then you know what? I think I'm actually going to cover this whole thing. I realize I want this whole thing to be dark. Yeah. And you know what that will do? That will allow me to come back with my 026 and just 25 and fill in these little light pieces here. And then I can just go back over this. Can I soften that out? Okay. Looking pretty good. I think it is. I see some lines here. I don't know if that means my marker is a little dry. I don't think I've used this marker very much, this color. So I'm just going to kind of, it might be just because I'm not blending. And so maybe I can't do a single coat, but that looks a lot better. Unfortunately, it's darker than I wanted, but that's okay. I still am really liking this. So I'm just going to bring this dark back up. And then I can always just do something like that. There we go. Okay. For the tent piece there, I actually have a black red that I use. And the reason I use the black red is because it is black, but it has a bit of a red tinge to it, so it's not going to give you a solid black that's going to match the lines of this. So if I hold this up, you can kind of see that it doesn't match the ink line. So you can still tell that it's black, but it's not the same as the ink, which I like. The sky is going to be tricky because I think if I did a black sky, that would look pretty terrible. So I got to think about that. In the meantime, I'm going to just play it safe. And for the moon, I'm going to do a Y yellow, and I'm just going to do it one color. Just one color. And I'm just going to dot all these little stars. The reason I like to do the simple coloring, and this is not simple coloring to me, like it's still, I'm not doing it correct. I got to find a way of doing it, but it's closer. I like it because it just appeals to me a lot more than something that is more realistic. I just love the cartoony, the fantasy, the fakeness. And when I say fakeness, I don't mean in a bad way. It's not meant to be real. It's meant to be just bring joy to the heart. And simple things really make me happy. They really do. I think life is too complicated, and to dial it back and just have simpleness, it comes back and hits home, and it's just like, no, that's the right way. And so doing this actually makes me a lot happier than if I were to try and nitpick and make sure that this had a beautiful blend. A beautiful blend is nice as well, but it doesn't have the same feel. And so that's what I like about it. And unfortunately, I can never pull it off as what I see in my head. But we will get there one day. And I will be watching this video and saying, you did it, when I finally get there. Okay, and so you can see down here, it dried and you can still see the separation, but it's looking a lot better. However, it's not perfect because that alcohol has pushed it. So you can see there's a line here that's really strong, and then over here it's really strong. And that's because the alcohol was so saturated that it's pushing it, and there's not any pigment to fill that in. That's my understanding. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring back, what was that? 043. I'm an 041. No, I don't want that. Actually, you know what? We'll try that. 041, that's slightly darker. And we're just going to kind of just fill that in just to where that gap is. And then a little bit over. Now this is more blending than I wanted to do, but it's starting to come. I think I'm going to have to bring in 4-3 again. Yeah, I think I'll have to make it darker. But we'll see. So what I'll do is I'll come back and just bring in this color and just do the whole thing. So it's starting to look a little better. It's not a sharp triangle anymore. And then if I come back again with the 4-1, so the problem could have been that the 4-0 was a little bit too white or too clear. And I'm going to come the opposite direction this time and fill it the other way. So this way I'm not touching that dark. I'm going to give that a try, and I think that worked quite nicely. Because if I feel like if I start in the dark again, it might have pushed the ink away, and that's what I'm trying not to do. And then I will just bring back the 4-6 one more time. I think that's what I did. And we'll just kind of just slightly just around the edges here. You see, I'm just following just the edge there. Trying to darken anything. You're almost painting right or coloring right on the ink line. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Yeah, I like that. That's nice. Okay, now for the sky. This is where we break it. I need a sip before I do this. This is scary because the sky always, I always do it last and I shouldn't because it really dictates whether it's going to get ruined or not. So if you bring this back out, so we started about, we're kind of mixing in between these, actually these three, essentially. I'm kind of going in between these three. So if we go directly down, we have red, but we can't do a red sky. I could use the black red, but that would look terrible. I find that it's just too dark. So really, an option is to stay in these colors here and try to come up with a fun sky that is nighttime-ish. So those are your darker colors, but not black. And I'm thinking I want to play with these down here, these BGs. These are almost like gray teals, gray, blue grays, blue greens. I don't know. I'm making that up, but let's try that. I think this is going to be interesting and no idea how this is going to turn out. However, I always have faith in my decisions when I'm looking at colors. It may not turn out the way that would be perfect, but it will turn out enough that I will either learn not to do that again or surprise me and say, you know what? This actually looks pretty cool. And those are the best moments. So I'm always playing with color. I never worry about choosing wrong colors. I do try to stay away from making muddy colors, but I just love playing with colors and trying to blend them and see what I can create. So I'm going to start with BG70. This is the lightest of them. So it's going to be such a small amount of this blue-green in here. And I'm not going to worry down here because I know that's going to be darker. But I want it to be all up here. It's almost like a gray. It really looks gray right now. And I'm just going to fill this in down here because what I'm going to try to do is create, you know what? No, I'll fill it in for now. Because what I'm going to try to do is create it where it's light down here and dark at the top. And the reason is because it's already pretty dark down here and I don't want to lose any of that. So I'm just going to kind of randomly, but not random, color. I don't want it to be a straight line. Let's just put it that way. And I'm just going to do one more coat because this is a very light color. Very light. And I'm just going to just enough. Now this is where it's not going to be simple anymore, but I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. And so the next color is going to be 7-2, and that is Silver Jade. And I'm just going to, actually, you know what? I think it's going to be hard to blend backwards. I think it might be easier to go from the dark. So let's try that. I'm going to switch. I just, something popped in my head and said stop and switch. So whoever did that, thank you. So I'm going to start with a BG76 and I'm going to do very little here. I'm just going to because I can add more later if it's not working. If I need more, let's say. So there we go. Just making sure I don't accidentally bleed into that star there. So I think a couple, just trying to make it so it's not so straight lined. Okay, now I'll go with the 7-3, and this is the blue spruce, and this is going to be my darker, the midtones. And just making sure that I blend that in a bit. And I'm going to bring that down quite a bit because this sky does need to be filled up. And actually what I'm kind of seeing now is kind of neat. It's patchy here, which is kind of cool for a sky. I like that. And how that's happening is because I'm not just coloring over everything equally. Okay, so then we'll just kind of stop there. And then we will continue on with the 7-2, which I had previously held in my hand. And I'm going to work down to the light color. Very similar to what I did with the dirt here, where then I'm going to bring the light color and work back inwards, so not to push any of that color away, and see if that makes a difference. See, I really like how this patchiness is looking. It's kind of fun. It almost has like this watercolor effect. And it's going to kind of go over this as well. So I want to make sure that this this blue isn't a harsh line noticeably. Okay. And we're not done yet. Actually, I'm not unfinished here yet, sorry. I find going around these images is a little bit challenging, because if you did want a smooth line, stopping to go over these is what's creating this cloudiness. So I'm not sure how you would fix that, but okay, now we're going to go back to the BG7, and then I'm just going to bring this in and merge it with the BG7-2, I think it was. 7-2, yeah. I think it looks pretty good. I like that. Just making sure I am being quick enough that, and not, actually I don't really need to worry about running over these stars because you can't tell. It's looking pretty good. Okay, and then once more, I can bring this BG7 back out just to make it dark again, if I want to make sure that it's a little bit dark at the top. You know, I do want to know it's nighttime. I just don't want it to be too dark, like all the way down. And I think we could actually bring this down a little bit more. I think this will be fine, because that moons out pretty well. So it should be pretty dark, but I really like it being a little bit lighter at the bottom there. So I'm just going to bring my 7-2 back out again, and I'm just going to kind of just stretch it out more. The whole point is I'm trying to bring this down more. So if you knew what you were doing and you were working with this early, like had already created this and you're just making another one, or this is a design you've done before, then you would kind of know how far you need to go down. But it's all learning for me. Always learning. Even if I knew exactly what I was doing, I'll tell you I'm learning. It's just the way it is. I'll never be perfect. It's impossible. Not that it's, even if I did the best job in the world, I'd still say it's not perfect. It's just the way, because once I say something is perfect, then what do I do next, right? So I don't want to ever stop and I'd say something is perfect. I will say I like it, and yeah, and I like this a lot. What I'm going to do next is just take my gel pen here, because I did go crazy with the ink, and I'm just going to go over that, and that kind of covers that up. Yeah, this turned out really nice. I really like this. I think what I can do a little bit, because there is a little bit shadowing here, I'm going to bring this 026 back, and I'm just going to do one more really dark line here. I think that makes it look really nice. Just bring it in. Yeah, I think it looks good. Well, there we go. We did it. I can actually do a little bit more down here. Never worry about coloring over the lines. You can even cut it out if you wanted to. That'd be very easy to cut out. I like this. This is really cute. I'm glad that I spent more than 5 minutes making this. I think there's no way that was 5 minutes. That must be I lost track of time. I don't have a stopper. But anyways, it was definitely more than 5 minutes. If you like this type of content, let me know in the comments, because I like creating videos and I just make whatever I feel. And if something speaks to you, always feel free to let me know. It's just say, I like this. Or you can say, have you ever tried doing X? I know some people love seeing kits. I know a lot of people like just coloring and whatever. Everyone's different. And I'm not going to do anything I don't want to do, but I'm always interested in knowing what other people like to watch or like to see me try. But I really enjoying the coloring, and maybe if I can just color once a month or something at a start, something easy, then maybe that's something that would be interesting. So I hope you enjoyed this. I may have another coloring because it is June, of all June. There's supposed to be coloring happening, but we'll see. June is getting pretty tight for me. I have a lot of things coming up, but we'll see if I can sneak one in. So don't forget to check out that free printable from Pajama Crafter Stamps. She is providing a free 30-day coloring book essentially. So it will be in the description box below. So have a beautiful day, and I hope that your week is fantastic and warm and joyful. So until the next time, have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.